I'll admit I was part of that when I first started. You look at your cars and you think, yeah, I can afford that, and then you don't want to jump into it straight away. So I'm as time's gone on, the 4.5 years gone on, it's just like I don't really want that anymore. Like I just want to build foundation. I want to be able to generate cash flow every month and not have to worry about that. And then I'll eventually look at them things,
So you've got an image now of how you see yourself. And if that's not correct, if that's not built in a way that has high self-esteem, high confidence, high discipline, and you're driven, well, then it's going to be difficult for you to succeed. But what people do in this industry is that if you're technically savvy enough, you can get an element of results. You can go through a streak of wins. You can get funded and get to the next level. It can happen without all of that. And then what happens? You get humbled in seconds and realize, what is going on? And then the real demons come out. So deal with them head on, just how you have, and you could be successful.
Would I say that being in Falcon would change me as a person, make me want to provide service, make me want to help people? No, I would never have said that 4 years ago. But here I am now. I'm feeling great. My self-esteem has massively improved. Like, I really want to help people. Like, it's crazy how it's changed. So that's my point that I would say to other people is get yourself out there and work your ass off with intentionality.
What's going on, guys and girls? Welcome back to another episode on the Inside the Mine podcast. Joined with me is one of our recent students that has passed on his funded account. I'm really excited to have this guy on because he's got an incredible story, very, very inspiring, and a story of perseverance. Those that don't give up and can persist a little bit longer than those that won't tend to succeed. Lewis, absolute pleasure. Thank you for jumping on, my friend. I'm really excited for this podcast. How is everything your end?
All good, mate. Hi, Mark. How you doing as well? Pleasure to be on the podcast and grateful to be invited on. So everything's good my side.
I'm curious if you ever visualized Lewis coming on a podcast like this.
Most definitely, yeah. I've always visualized that higher pillar within the community, being able to speak openly to and help others. So yeah, to be on this podcast, it's definitely something I've been visualizing 100%.
Well, I'm glad you've pushed yourself out of your comfort zone and you've grown from what I've seen over the years tremendously. You've come out of your shell and you've really leveled up in so many areas, which is so good to see, seriously. But for those that maybe have not heard of you before or you've not spoken to in the community, if you was to give just a couple of minutes overview after how long you've been trading, just kind of an overview of your journey so far.
Sure. So I began trading in beginning of 2018. So I did about 6 months with another course, and then obviously saw yourself, connected with yourself with that, and I joined Falcon probably June, July 2018, and from there just been working at it, ups and downs, working hard, and now here we are, 4.5 years later, is it?
4.5 years. How it goes so quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And the thing is, you don't realize how quick this time goes. And I'm sure now that you're at the next stage, right? So you're currently funded with a third-party fund, right? You've got to the next stage. Firstly, congrats, which is an epic achievement. I know you kept that in the background, but it's important that we do celebrate that success. And I'm really pleased for you, mate. Seriously. So again, congrats on that stage. How does it feel knowing that you've been doing this 4.5 years? You've gone through the ups and downs. How did that feel in that moment when you kind of got to that next stage?
When I realized that I passed it, it was incredibly a great feeling. Like as you say, the ups and downs, just working hard and going back to the drawing board multiple times, remaining neutral to know that the bigger aspect, the bigger picture will come into play. It's that core visualization. So when I did pass, it was such a tremendous feeling. Like, obviously I went through the Falcon Fund a couple of times, and then to finally dial it all in, strip it all back, and then finally part. Yeah, it's just such a humbling and grateful experience.
You've learned so much, I can imagine, through all of that period. I'm curious for everyone listening, because we've done quite a lot of these podcasts now. People go through different things, different struggles. You've persevered. I'm curious throughout of all of that, what kept you going? Because let's be honest, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. I'm sure you've had times of which you questioned yourself, maybe even questioned how you're trading. Does it work? All kinds of emotions. That it's normal. It happens to all traders. But you still carried on, because I saw periods of time when I could tell you're frustrated, probably just a bit angry with yourself. Maybe it's not happened yet. All kinds of emotions. Most people give up in that moment. Why didn't you?
The bigger why, really, because I have a duty to my family, to my legacy, to leave my kids something tangible, to teach them better things, better experiences. And the only way that trading will provide that is by persevering, keeping it moving, keep working at it. Yeah, there was times of frustration, there was times of anger, but at the end of the day, anger is just temporary. Like we learn to manage that. We learn to, through our experience, to just overcome and persevere, and to just pick up and leave through a little bit of frustration. It's just not on, man. It's just, yeah, that's non-negotiable at the end of the day. Like if you're gonna do something, you need to commit and keep working, regardless.
You're a true example of someone that did commit. You've taken it seriously. You've done it, and it's amazing to see that, because that is what I can respect the most. Someone that can. It's easy to be positive when things are good. It's hard to still carry on going and believe that this is still going to work out for me, even though back to the drawing board, punched in the face by the market, constantly back and forth, but you still carried on going. To me, you seem like a completely different person. So congrats on that. And I'm glad that your why is, your actions are aligned with your why, right? You have your family, you've got that in check. You know exactly what you're doing. I think that's something that sticks out straight away. I'm curious, through all of that, was there anything practical that you done through that time? Was there anything you can attribute towards that helped you get through it? Was it an element of journaling? Was it daily goals? Was it reading, meditation? I mean, everyone's different. Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Definitely journaling. So I'll be completely honest. Like the first year of Falcon, probably most people, right, they don't fully go all in, right? They loosely take in the content, but it wasn't till after a year I really journaled and really noted down everything. And the practical steps to just keep going is yeah, just keep visualization and
so you just carried on with just being very clear on where you're going, taking the journey. Do you think that when you took the journaling seriously, that was what changed for you? That you was actually able to double down and write, these are the mistakes that I'm making? Because I think you're correct. Some people, they go in, they kind of dip their toe in the water. But isn't it interesting how when you make that shift in your mind as to, I'm all in now? Because what does that exactly mean? Because all in to me might mean different to someone else. Like when I say all in, I mean all in, like sacrifice. You have to make sacrifices. So when you was going through that process, did you energetically feel you was going all in?
Yeah, you can feel the tangible difference whether you're going all in, because your trading results are a direct reflection of your processes. If your processes are shot and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're not all in, then you get sloppy, you get burnt at the end of the day. So to go all in, you'll know when you're going all in, because everything will just align. Everything will feel great. You'll be flowing fantastic, and it will just all come together naturally.
I think that's amazing. And you're a true example of just got on with it. Now you're in your flow. I'm sure you seem so much happier in your day-to-day kind of operation of trading as well, which is amazing. I'm sure you've got some bigger goals. What's the kind of next stage for you now? Is it just focusing on your processes? I'm sure you've got bigger numbers of trading figures that you want to hit as well.
Yeah. So first things first is keep doing scaling up is obviously the main thing. So reaching that golden number, which is about 160,000 trading capital, which then generates probably around 4,000 a month I would need as a golden number. So then that would be my main aspect, my main focus, whilst funneling the profits of that into split ratios, going straight into like ISAs and kids ISAs, really building the foundations for that wealth. Because I like we all come in, we all visualize spending like a little bit of cash, getting a bit of trading, spending cash, like looking at, your supercars and stuff like that. I'll admit I was part of that when I first started. You look at your cars and you think, oh yeah, I can afford that, and then you don't want to jump into it straight away. So as time's gone on, the 4.5 years gone on, it's just like I don't really want that anymore. Like I just want to build foundation. I want to be able to generate cash flow every month and not have to worry about that. And then I'll eventually look at them things, you know?
That's
That's
exciting.
yeah.
That's exciting. And I'm glad you had the specific number as well. You've done the exercise. Again, it's a prime example. People that are taking it seriously, you'll know your numbers. It's very easy to tell when someone's not all in, they're not serious. It's like, where are your goals? What's your why? What's the vision? What do you want out of it? What trading account do you need to quit your job? Most people, they don't know this stuff. And then they wonder why results don't happen. The interesting thing about that, when you put these things into play, it feels so real. And I'm sure it does for you as well. When you talk about 160, 165, right? Even call it a round number of 200. 200K basically takes care of everything for you.
Oh,
You hit
definitely.
your average return, you got 200K, you're building that wealth. And I'm glad you know what you want it for as well, because at the superficial level, don't get me wrong, cars, watches, houses, jets, they're nice. But freedom is the ultimate goal, because I can tell you this, there is nothing better than just being free, which is what I'm excited for so many of you. When you get that number and you now go, right, I am free, and you're not then governed by these excitements of, oh, but that car would be nice. I'm telling you, you'll value your freedom way more than all of that, because as long as you're free, you can build from there. Once you've taken care of that part of your life, you know, your family's good, everything's good, you can start to build up. And then, you know, with nice little milestones of your trading account increases, you might go, yeah, I fancy a G-Wagon. But, you know, we'll get that G-Wagon once you've incrementally hit a new milestone. Let's get your house in order first and then move forward with that.
Yeah, I'm keen to ask you a question as well then. So
Sure.
if somebody's in like a full-time job, let's say, and also a full-time trader. So I like to see myself as well, just throw it in there. I like to see myself as a full-time trader, regardless of my full-time job, because at the end of the day, if you're doing your forecasting, your ASR, your journaling, your evening routines, you're doing everything what a trader needs to be a full-time trader.
Exactly.
So why not categorize? It may not be a primary source of income, but you are a full-time trader, and that's the baseline of it. But I'm keen to know your thoughts of, as somebody who's doing a full-time job and they're also full-time trading, once they quit their job, do you reckon it alleviates like a survival based mentality, which then opens somebody up to say the opportunities, a broader aspect of opportunities, just to attract more? Do you see where I'm coming from with that?
Definitely, definitely. It will naturally. Well, there's two sides to it. There's the first side of, if you're too comfortable and you remove the survivability, you get too relaxed, and then it could go the other way, which is why, again, I'm glad you pointed out the fact that you're already a full-time trader from an identity shift. That's bang on, by the way. And it's very, very important, because the reality is, if I didn't focus on all the businesses that I focus on and I just traded, it's 20 minutes a day. You know, it's so, like, I don't take a trade every day. It's impossible. You know, it may not shape up. Might not take a trade for 5 days, and then sometimes it's an hour in front of the charts. But there or thereabouts. Call it an hour to average, an hour a day of average time. It took years to get to that stage. However, that would be an hour a day. What else am I going to do? Just force positions, make more errors. Doesn't matter how skilled you are. I've been there. I know what it's like. You force things that don't exist because you get bored. You're like, oh, let's have a look at indices. Let's see if they're moving. If, let's say, currency's going sideways, you'll look at a different instrument and then try and force something that doesn't even exist. So I've been there, done that, know what it's like. And then what you have to do, though, is that you have to remove that element of being too relaxed and too comfortable. So yes, it brings opportunity. But what I've done from my own experience and from what I've seen, if you get too relaxed, it works the other way. So you almost have to wipe the slate clean and go, right, this is my trading income. Yes, I'm making lots of money and I can have this good lifestyle, but let's now put a heavy portion towards, let's move it away. Right? How can I get rid of it in a smart way? I'm not getting rid of it to luxuries. I'm getting rid of it into investments, right? It's going into property, it's going into crypto, it's going to different precious metals, it's going into assets. So now you've got your income, it's taking care of your lifestyle, but now you're not so comfortable and relaxed. And what does that do? It gives you some urgency. It gives you that fire to go, right, what else am I very passionate about? Because at this point, your trading is actually good. So you're in routine. It should be like clockwork. You shouldn't be struggling to make a return. So if you're in the flow with that, now what could complement your trading that wouldn't distract your flow, that wouldn't distract your morning and evening routine? And how can that play a part? Because what most people do wrongly is they go, I want to make more money. I want multiple sources of income. And they confuse that, and then they compromise their trading. So let's say your trading was built on the fact that your morning routine is bang on every single time. And you've now brought this new opportunity in that then compromises that for a little extra, maybe couple of grand a month. See how foolish that can be. And someone's
Yeah.
mind will go, yeah, but I could make that 2K a month. You're going to make so much more than that in trading. So my point is here is that when you go full time, don't compromise what got you there in the first place, and only bring something in that you know is going to complement what you're already doing.
Funny you should say that, because where I mentioned about the first year of being within Falcon, myself and my friend, we tried to start a business on the same time. So when you're trying to start a business, trying to learn how to trade and be a business, you're sort of double stacking. And it goes to that old saying, focus on one course until successful. So I think that was obviously a driving factor of maybe underperforming that first year, because we were trying to look at other ways to create that income. So
Of course.
obviously you've got my first child was just born, trying to create a business whilst trying to learn to be a business whilst working 12-hour shifts. It really stacked up and got quite stressful at the time, because at the end of the day you can't find balance. It's always dynamic. So but yeah,
and bandwidth as well. You know, I can imagine that must have been quite stressful for you going through that. But you're a man of duty. You have responsibility. I understand why you did it. However, now coming on the other side, you realize how that can be detrimental. Now,
yeah.
it does. Don't get me wrong. If people have got businesses and you're listening to this and you're a trader and you've got a business and you're making it work, good. If it doesn't compromise your trading, but if you're still sitting there going, I'm nowhere near to consistency, I'm not where I want to be, and you're prioritizing something that's just making you an extra $500 a month or £500 a month, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because when you go all in on trading, and this is a hard thing, people are not willing to sacrifice, right? If you understand my story, I was making a decent amount. I would average about 60 to 70 grand a year in London. I gave that up because I understood that I need to go all the way back, not having a big trading account, but I would rather make, and this is my thought process at the time, I'd rather make £1,000 a month and have my freedom than just be a slave into London again. I don't want to get on that train anymore and have to stand the whole way. 3 hours there, 3 hours back, 6 hours of travel, waking up, leaving by like 5:20 a.m. I was like, don't want to do it anymore. I've done my fair share of that. I'm not doing it. I'm taking my freedom back. So there comes a point in which that I could have stayed there comfortable. You know, I could have convinced myself, why would I want to give up that income? However, I took a step back to go massively forward, and I would do it over and over again. So you need to understand that sometimes you got to let go of something that in the short term might be a bit uncomfortable. But the reality is, what if that's the freedom and the time that you needed to elevate so much further forward? And I'm glad that I did. So, Lewis, you know, I'm going to ask you the rewired question, right? As someone who's gone through it vigorously.
Yeah, sure.
I want to ask you that because we had our recent workshop with Hana. How did you find that experience, by the way? I'm just curious because it was such a good session.
Yeah, the webinar with Hana was fantastic. So just watching it, taking notes, plenty of notes. There's quite a lot of things that I found I resonated with, especially with self-esteem. So it's you realize after doing Rewired and then doing it again and then really going all in with yourself, you realize that trading is more so about self-esteem, confidence, character building. Like you guys say it all the time. Like to put an undervalue on that is quite disrespectful in a way, because when you merge it all, when I obviously, you know my story, so I had quite low self-esteem at the time. And as time's gone on, it's really grown. And by doing that, Hannah mentioned to increase your self-esteem, provide service. Well, and I'm going to drop a little plug in with the accountability calls. But yeah, so just jumping on there with Yassine and everyone else, big shout out to them. But it really puts you out there every month, and by doing that, just naturally as a byproduct, your self-esteem increases. So what Hannah was talking about really gelled, and I really like that quite nicely. I fitted quite nicely in the trader avatar, pretty much probably like everyone else with the Joe the roller coaster junkie.
Yeah. So it's so interesting, isn't it, when you can categorize yourself in those areas and you realize that's what it comes down to. I know we've been saying it for years and years, but sometimes people just have to get burnt a few times, lose a few funded accounts, etc. But as I've said from day one, when I see people that have spent like 2,000, 3,000, sometimes 5,000 euros on funded assessments, and they say, I don't think I can afford to invest into Rewired, It's like you can't afford not to. How could you? You're basically saying you can't afford to invest into your mind.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say that Rewired is the only way, but it's a program on the market that you know is going to get you results because everyone else is getting results. So why wouldn't you? And unfortunately, reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is not going to fix it because it's just a book. What you're getting is you're getting 15 years experience of a trader who has done this and is doing this in a way that helps you think as a trader. There is so much about mindset, right? There's so much about psychology if you really think about it, but those core modules have been designed for a reason because it's what you need to be a successful trader. If you wanted psychology as a whole, I mean, we could go so deep into it, but is it necessary? No, because you're just going to go so far down a rabbit hole of left brain, right brain, pineal gland. I mean, we could go so deep into things, but it's not relevant. And you understanding more about that isn't necessarily going to make you a great trader. The same way, if you understood 50 different strategies, that's not going to make you better at technical analysis. It's not going to make you money. And I think what we do in this space as a whole is that I've observed over the years is that we forget why we're doing this in the first place. Your goal, and I'm sure your first thought process when you thought about trading is, how do I make money? Normal.
Yes.
You're here to make money. You're not here to have knowledge about everything. All you care about, if I put two people there and went, you could have all the knowledge in the world, or you're going to have limited knowledge, but you're going to be so good at the knowledge that you know, and you're going to make 20 grand a month. Which one are you going to pick? It's very, very simple, but we forget that because we feed into our insecurities. We get influenced by other people's information. We go here, there, and everywhere, and we don't stand and stick to one thing. But you've done that. You've done that through and through. I'm so impressed. I'm so proud of what you've done. And I'm genuinely very, very excited to you're coming to meetups, you're putting yourself out. Honestly, it's like a different person. You can see there's a different energy. And I'm confident you would have influenced a lot more people because there's many people that I've seen, Lewis, that they've given up. They gave up years ago. You carried on going through. And it just goes to show you, if you just get on with it long enough, with intention, of course. Can't just watch content and expect it's going to happen. Like, you was intentional about it. It's not like you just sat there and done nothing. You just was able to deal with the pain longer than what others are willing to deal with it. And sometimes that is the catalyst.
Yeah, I guess it's that application of things, right? So obviously the Falcon provides the theory, you have the practical aspect of trading, but in order to become successful in that way, you need to make that connection, create that bridge of application. So you got the theory, the practical, and in the middle is that application. It's applying what you've learned into the markets. And if you probably see yourself, like a lot of people come into the communities and they jump in and they're straight away funded. They jump to that practical side of things without applying the theory. Do you see what I'm coming?
Exactly.
And then they blow it. And they haven't worked on themselves. They haven't worked on their strategies. So they're still rocking a version 1 trade plan as per se. And we all know that a version 1 trade plan is never set in stone. We always work on our trade plan continuously because the market evolves. And as well, you evolve. Your whole perspective as your experience in the market changes, you start seeing things different. You start
you approach things differently, basically. Yeah.
So you're responding to things differently because your perspective's changed. So
yeah, like the version of you, for example, Lewis, the way you would respond to something now versus 3 years ago is so different. I'm sure even just the way you would respond to a losing trade, it would be a different emotional response, which shows the maturity that you've achieved. And that's kind of the last question I wanted to ask you before we wrap up, which is, how, with your experience through Falcon, you stuck at it through and through, you've done everything that you need to do. What is the big standout? I mean, honest, raw thoughts, because you've been here for a decent amount of time. What is the USPs that, or your benefit of what you see as being in firstly a community and Falcon in your experience, and any advice to others in the community to push on like you did?
So the big point being in Falcon actually is my entire character, because as we mentioned in the webinar, my whole life has revolved around an isolated job. I've had, obviously, what we discussed about is the post-trauma, which made me self-isolated. And would I say that being in Falcon would change me as a person, make me want to provide service, make me want to help people? No, I would never have said that 4 years ago. But here I am now. I'm feeling great. My self-esteem has massively improved. Like, I really want to help people. Like, it's crazy how it's changed. So for other people, if they were to come into the community and they were looking to improve themselves, what can you do? Well, it's clear as day. Provide service, get yourself out there, go to the meetups for starters, because just getting that energetic connection with other people, it raises your self-esteem as such. So become confident, become self-worthy. Say you're worthy of achieving this. Like anybody's worthy of achieving trading. It's whether you tell yourself that and you act accordingly to produce them tangible results. So that's my point that I would say to other people is get yourself out there and work your ass off with intentionality.
100%, absolutely spot on, Lewis. And that's exactly what you've done, because you were someone before that wouldn't go to a meetup. You was isolating yourself. And funny enough, when you've put yourself out there, you've done acts of service, you're getting on with it, you're intentional with what you do. And no wonder that you've improved and got the results, and you've actually used the material provided to your benefit, and you can see the self-esteem raise. Honestly, it's the best feeling in the world, because it's hard to see someone when you see that their self-esteem is low, because you know they're so close away from feeling energetically different. They will vibrate so much higher as soon as that is fixed, which is why when I see traders that don't take things like self-image seriously enough, it's like, you're crazy. That to me is like, again, not drinking water. That's like not drinking water. You not having the correct image is almost going, yeah, I'm happy taking the chance. I'm happy rolling the dice, because 9 times out of 10, your image won't be correct, because it'll be influenced from your environment, how you grew up, things you can't control, things that are not your fault. So you've got an image now of how you see yourself. And if that's not correct, if that's not built in a way that has high self-esteem, high confidence, high discipline, and you're driven, well, then it's going to be difficult for you to succeed. But what people do in this industry is that if you're technically savvy enough, you can get an element of results. You can go through a streak of wins. You can get funded and get to the next level. It can happen without all of that. And then what happens? You get humbled in seconds and realize, what is going on? And then the real demons come out. So deal with them head on, just how you have, and you could be successful. Lewis, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. I'm really, really excited to see the next levels for you. And I'm confident this is giving people a bit of a kick up the arse. Just get on with it. Look at Lewis, like you've cracked on with it. I'm so proud of you, mate. And keep us updated with the community as well. Guys and girls, I really hope you enjoyed this podcast and you took away lots of value from it. Please let us know your number one takeaways, just anything that you might have resonated with Lewis's story as well. Thank you so much, Lewis. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, man. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.